We welcome you all to the south end zone of Kyle Field and to Studio 12. It's time for another Yellen Review with our Director of Athletics, Ross Bjork. It's February. We got this one in just in time. February is that shorter month. We didn't have as much time to work with last day of February. Right. Yeah, so we got February in just in time.
And we also have a sub
right
from the bullpen.
That's right.
Andrew, we're no coffee this morning. I mean, Tyler,
got a lot of
you got to pick it up. You got to pick it up for Andrew.
That's right.
We're missing you, Andrew. I know you're probably watching, or you'll watch the recording later. So
yeah. So it's
but he's with men's basketball.
Yeah.
At Ole Miss.
If you can pry Andrew Monaco away from a shoot around, that's quite the feat.
He's a big.
He's locked in
guy.
on those things. Yeah, he loves them.
He's got to get. He's got to get in that picture, that buzz post.
The post game road
where
win
he's on
picture.
the court.
Yeah.
He's got to get in that picture. Yeah. So he's got to. And the only way to get in the picture is you got to go to shoot around.
Well.
So.
And
that's where Andrew is.
Priorities on Andrew's list, 1, 2, 3 right there.
And we need that photo tonight.
That's exactly
right. We need
to
see that road win photo tonight. Yeah, A&M and Ole Miss, 8 o'clock.
No, great to be back with you guys.
All right. So, Tyler, filling in for Andrew. Good to have you. So much to talk about, and the 12th man has responded with their list of questioning. As always, if you have a question for Ross, you can send it in to the official website of Texas A&M Athletics. Go to 12thman.com/Ask Ross for a question on any future Yell and reviews. But there's topics to get to before we get to the 12th man. We just mentioned hoops. What's been happening at Reed Arena has been just terrific. One more home game. That's going to be on Saturday, 11 a.m. against Alabama. You're probably going to see a packed Reed for that. We're hoping for an Aggie win tonight. Then we're going to yell War Eagle tomorrow. If the Aggies win and Auburn beats Alabama tomorrow, Saturday is for the SEC title. But just hoops has been fantastic to watch this season.
Yeah, and the game's already sold out, and really I think the credit goes to the students. You think about the 12th man and them showing up, and we've been holding 4,500 to 5,000 seats for students to really make sure we have a great representation from the 12th man, and they've shown up. They're camping out. They're showing up early. The lines are starting. It's an 11 o'clock game. I mean, my guess is there's going to be people out there on Friday night, waiting to get in line to support the Aggies. And it's just been fun. I mean, I wasn't here, obviously, I guess it was the early 2000s that people talk about where they said, this stretch right here reminds them of that period at Reed Arena where every game was packed. It was the place to be. It was the place to be seen. You came to support the team, and it made a huge difference. And I think we've seen that in these games that have been close, is that the 12th man, our crowd has made a difference, and our guys have responded, obviously, by winning those key games. So Saturday I don't think is going to be any exception to that. So got to get through tonight against Ole Miss. Road games are always hard, and then come back Saturday and see what happens against Alabama.
All right. So hoops, tonight, then Alabama. We know they'll play March 10th at the SEC tournament. They've already received the double bye.
That's right.
And then you would await Selection Sunday to see their assignment in the NCAA tournament. So that's what's coming up for basketball. But, Tyler, we were talking before we started, the ever-changing landscape of college athletics since Ross has been here last, the 12th Man Foundation made a big announcement.
Yeah, pretty big announcement, Ross, and already some dividends being paid. I know there was a lot of national conversation about the 12th Man Plus Fund when it launched about 2 weeks ago. I know I got some calls. I think Will got some calls.
I think everybody
I think
did.
you got a lot of calls.
In the athletic department, right.
Well, Travis demanded we make our contribution immediately when he appeared on studio.
It's amazing when you do a podcast with Travis Dowdney, there's like a contribution in kind before they slide to you when you do it.
Can't give to NIL funds as staff members, but you can still give to the 12th Man Foundation.
That's right.
Travis is always working.
Yep.
But no, you're right. And Tyler, you've obviously been highly involved in as the head of our creative team on supporting our athletes and what does NIL mean in this modern era. And it seems like every day things kind of change, and some days we're allowed to do more than others. There might be some clarification on what that support means. And so the 12th Man Foundation Plus program is really, I think, a groundbreaking, innovative way for the 12th Man Foundation to compensate athletes for appearances in support of the 12th Man Foundation mission. And we went through a lot of analysis. People just think that we maybe woke up on a Wednesday and decided to announce this. And, there's been a lot of research both by the university to make sure that we're following state law and that there's compliance around NCAA guidance. And then the 12th Man Foundation is a separate entity. And so they're not doing this on our behalf. They're doing it to promote their mission And so those kind of bright lines have been really clear from a university perspective, again, a state law perspective, and, of course, the NCAA guidance that's out there. And so I think our athletes are excited. I know the 12th Man Foundation is receiving a lot of incoming inquiry from our donors and from fans asking how this is going to work. And so it's just, again, another innovative way that the 12th Man Foundation, can support our student athletes. And so we got to be all in. I said from the beginning, as an institution, we have to embrace all of it, from a donation to a single game ticket sale to buying a pullover to a T-shirt to coming to a softball game, which we've had great crowds at softball already, and coming to baseball games. We have to embrace all of it. And if you don't, then you're going to fall behind. And so I think this is a way to do that. And so here we go.
Well, one thing I was going to mention, we talked about it with Travis, and I know, Ross, you mentioned in your public comments, is Texas A&M is uniquely set up to do this with the 12th Man Plus Fund. There's only maybe a handful of schools you can count on one hand that even have the ability to have this conversation and to be on the forefront of something so unique, along with what we've done in an NIL standpoint the last 2 years. It really sets Texas A&M above the standard where we want to go from an NIL standpoint.
That's right. That's right. And again, we're in this space right now where it's constantly changing, and we believe that here at Texas A&M, being part of the SEC, being in the state of Texas, the platform is huge. And we can be a leader in multiple areas, whether it's guidance, whether it's direct support of our athletes, whatever that might be. We got to be at the forefront of it. And so we want to set an example at the highest level to say, oh, what are they doing at A&M? What are they doing with the 12th Man Foundation? And so I think this is just another example where we can be at that forefront.
So plenty happening, and through all that, it's that overlap of so many sports over there on the West Campus. And we've got weekends coming up where you can catch just about everything. So,
hard to believe it's 1st of March.
Yeah, we always say it flies because it's true. It flies.
Right.
That's right. It goes right by so quick. So we'll get to the 12th man. Questions from you, the fans, for our AD, Ross, and plenty of topics to cover today. The one was kind of heavy. 3 questions submitted by Aggies pretty much on the same topic. So we give credit to Gabriel Herrera, class of 21 from Laredo, Tyson Stewart, class of 03 from Bernie, and Richard G., class of 22 from Cypress, all with the same topic for you, Ross, and it centers around any updates on a possible indoor tennis facility. And there was also a question in there about possible renovations to the Mitchell Tennis Center, the outdoor facility for the Aggie men and women. Right.
No, these are great questions, and one of our student athletes has been talking about this on social media, Carson, and I think it's been great that our student athletes can utilize their platform. So I think that's where these questions have come from, and we actually had a chance to catch up with Carson in the last couple of weeks and just update her, because it's hard to, when things aren't official and things aren't final, it's hard to make declarations, if you will. And so we were not able to really update our student athletes on what was going on. And we had some early tournaments where we had to go find an indoor location to play in the ITA. And so that's where this conversation came from. But we as an athletic department, as a university, have been working with the city of Bryan for the last 2 years as they developed the Midtown Park location, which is really about a mile from this side of campus, right down Wellborn, right there at Villa Maria. We've been talking to them about building an indoor tennis complex, in that location that the city would operate, the city would manage, and then when we need it, which is only a few times a year, we would have direct access to it. It would look like an A&M facility. It'd be branded. The courts would be at the highest level of rating for USTA ratings and the things that you need to host high-level championships. So we've been working on that. The Board of Regents in November granted us the authority to negotiate with the city of Bryan. We're working on kind of the final scope of the project. And then that has to go back to the Bryan City Council for them to approve. Mayor Gutierrez, new mayor of Bryan, previous mayor Andrew Nelson, they've all been supportive of it. The city of Bryan staff. And so we're working through the final pieces of it. And hopefully we can announce that everything is done and final here pretty soon, where 6 indoor courts, spectator seating, and the ability to have indoor tournaments that we can pre-schedule. Or there's times where you're hosting a tennis match let's say Thursday night against LSU, a men's tennis match. Maybe there's a chance of rain. That rain comes in, bam, within an hour you can shift to that indoor facility. All of those things will be part of this agreement, and it'll be a first-class facility. And so we're really excited about that piece of it. And then we do have to look at the Mitchell Tennis Center, locker rooms, player lounges, coaches' offices, maybe some spectator things, maybe updating some graphics. We just redid the courts last year. Video board is relatively new. It's a great complex. It's a great location. There's plenty of parking. And so there are some things that we're looking at over the next couple of years that we can do around tennis. But the indoor piece is really a partnership with the city of Bryan that we've been working on for some time, and we hope that we can make some final announcements here relatively soon.
All right. Excellent.
On to your favorite topic, lighting. Yep. But it's actually about Reed Arena.
Ross has become a lighting expert. Yes.
He's
shifting.
An exterior illumination expert.
Yeah.
Kathleen Hubbard, class of 70 and 82 from Cypress, had this question, Ross. She said, I know this is your favorite topic. Would you consider adding LED lights to the court at Reed Arena? How cool would that be?
Yeah. Well, the great thing, Kathleen, is we did add new lighting at Reed Arena this year. And maybe people don't exactly notice, but the court is illuminated brighter than what it was before, and we've kind of darkened the seating bowl a little bit, and we've turned off some of the can lighting in there to have the court sort of be a platform. And then at the end of this season, we're going to modify those lights where potentially we could have, and I think what she's referring to is maybe some flashing lights and some things that go on and off like we've seen in other venues. And so we would have that capability moving forward. And so that upgrade will take place in the off season. And so we'll have some options. We'll look at it. And then the thing that we've talked about on this program is, do we want a copycat? Does it fit A&M? Is it the right thing to do for our environment? If you look at Reed Arena this year, our environment is off the charts.
Man.
I mean, we dim the lights pregame. We've got some pyrotechnics that go off, right? The crowd has been awesome. And so those are the kind of things that, okay, do we need to mess this up? Do we need to add any other elements? And for what purpose? We always want to have a purpose when we do these kind of things. So, but we will have some capabilities. People always ask about football. Nothing's being added for football at this point in time. We know we have a lot of changes with, team entrance and things like that we're all working on, and there's a group working on that as well. So more to come on lighting and intros and all those kind of things. But it's evolving, and we want to make sure that we have tradition here that we don't want to mess up. But also, how do we continue to evolve and innovate while maintaining that tradition? I think that's the balance that we walk every single day.
Yeah, I'll say this. We talk about this run that we're on in basketball right now, but I'll take you all the way back to opening night against Louisiana Monroe. We were working that game, so I walked into Reed early, and I immediately noticed the lighting change.
Right.
Having walked into that arena for so many years, I stopped for a second and
You're
said,
like, hey,
wow,
what
I like
happened?
this.
Yeah.
It almost created a more comfortable place for me with that lighting. I noticed, immediately upon walking in for the first time.
And I think where you'll notice even more, Will, is when Jamie Morrison's volleyball group starts in the fall. It's actually a really great setup for volleyball. It kind of, like Ross said, darkens the bowl a little bit. It makes it feel a little bit more intimate. When there's a smaller crowd in there, it's going to look really, really, really great.
Cozy for Aggies, but we'll have it hostile for the Tide on Saturday.
That's exactly right.
But, moving on, John, class of 02 from League City. He's becoming a pretty good friend of this program. He likes to send in some questions, and a lot of construction going on. If anybody who's been around this athletic footprint of campus over here lately, John asks about construction cams. He says the options may be limited, but would it be possible to get better construction cam views on all the projects that are under construction currently?
Yeah. I think what John may be in the construction business.
Possibly.
Because he's seeing the evolution as we go through these projects. I think what he's referring to is right now we have a lot of exterior shots, and as buildings are now becoming enclosed, like indoor track is completely enclosed right now, and people would be blown away by what's happening on the inside when they see a lot of concrete, and we've actually got some seating treads that are going up inside a track. I just walked by the new indoor football facility, performance center, and all of the steel is pretty much done. They've got a few sections left. But it's all the way to Wellborn. So it's going to go from the Bright building all the way to Wellborn, and that's a massive building. So, yes, we are looking at how do we get the construction cams on inside of buildings where we're not just looking at the outside. And so Craig Volka, he's our Senior Associate AD for Capital Projects. He's the man with the plan as it relates to all things construction. And so, yeah, those are things that we're looking at to get better views there.
All right. Big weekend over the weekend at Olson Park or Olson Field when the Corps Cadets jerseys. Ross Nolan, class of 22 from Orange out in the Golden Triangle, says, as a former cadet in the Corps, the new Corps baseball jerseys look great. Are there any plans to put the jerseys on the market for sale? I believe this would be a great revenue opportunity because of so many Aggies being in the Corps. It would make a special gift for some old Aggies.
Yeah. No, it's a great question, Nolan. And as we unveiled those, I guess we rolled that out on Thursday. Last week. A lot of questions about that. And there's always going to be some challenges, especially in today's environment with supply chains. And you come up with a jersey idea a year ago, you probably need about 2 years to really do it at a super high level where everything is going to click. Mm-hmm. And even then, it may not go 100% accurate in terms of what you thought you could do. And so we've been working on this for a while. Your team has been great as well, Tyler. And so, yes, you can buy at 12thmanshop.com. You can order jerseys, and I think we sold about 250.
Sold about 250 over a 3-day period, yeah.
And so obviously those will continue to roll out. And then we have some local retailers. Aggieland Outfitters, CC Creations also have a lot of these core there might be replicas. There's hats. There's other T-shirts that are part of the uniforms that are available for retail as well. But the best place is go online. You can order. Those things will come in, and so you can take care of the old Ags as he references here.
And on the hat question that people keep filling my DMs up on the Twitter machine about, they're upcoming.
Yep.
We're working on it.
Yep.
And then we found out about an hour ago that our local vendors in town have reordered as well for this upcoming weekend. So a lot of.
And we're gonna continue to wear those uniforms. It'll be maybe a Sunday uniform, maybe a special game here and there, but those uniforms, it's not just a one-time deal. A lot of people have asked, hey, can we auction off the jerseys? Can we sell them right now? No, we can't sell them because the players need them to wear because we're going to wear them, throughout the year. So, but I think there'll be some cool things once the season's over that we can do that are special. And look, the way the Corps has embraced this, there's a new commandant, General Patrick Michaelis. He has been awesome to work with. He stepped in right away to embrace this. The Corps turnout on Sunday for that game, it packed out. Normally Sundays, hey, people may go to church, they got family events, whatever. But, it was packed. It was full.
6,400 for a Sunday.
And so the whole embracing of this has been really neat to see. We had a cadet in the dugout throughout the game. Reveille, she threw out the first pitch or kind of ceremoniously throughout the first pitch, being there on the mound. So there was just a lot of cool moments. And the cannon, people have asked about the cannon. Can't quite have the cannon there every game because you've got to have space around it. But there's some people that come watch the game from left field, and so you don't want to ruin some of that. So just a lot of neat moments from this past weekend.
Just how tradition-rich Sunday was.
Oh, yeah.
With Cannon, Corps, and then you had your baseball traditions of the ball 5 count. They're guessing engines, and guess how it ends with Olsen Magic.
Right. That's exactly right.
That's an Aggie a day as it gets Sunday. Yeah. Moving on, James, class of 20 from Hearn. He asked about, along the lines of the baseball Corps Cadets uniform, what can be for sale for the general public. He pinpoints Old Sarge golf gear, baseball jackets, football hoodies. Can those be sold to the general public? That's James' question, class of 20 from Hearn.
Yeah, the old Sarge stuff I think is popular. And so I know, because I bought some T-shirts locally, so I know our local retailers have it as well. I know that there's a website that we work with called Home Field.
Home Field
that has sort of we call it the Vault series. And so as far as like baseball jackets, football hoodies, it's really a matter of, does that manufacturer believe they can sell that type of product? Our folks with license in the Vault category, which is where the old Sarge, sort of lies. And then it's a matter of that manufacturer, that retailer putting it out there. based on demand. And so it's kind of in that retro category, but you can get it right now. There's places that you can get it right now. Golf gear, I think people have seen our golf team have sort of the old Sarge, and he's got a club in his hand. That is part of our Aggie Golf Booster Club, and so I think the best way to get that particular gear is to join, and I'm sure Coach Corton and Coach Chadwell would appreciate that support, James. Give what you can to that fund. But there are some things in the retail side. If you go online, if you check some of our local retailers where the old Sarge is part of that retail side. So a lot of questions about gear.
I know. We usually get those in the fall.
Yeah.
It's more of a spring question.
Yeah.
Hey, the good thing is, James,
Absolutely.
if you want your baseball jacket, there's a new team-issued baseball jacket available on 12manshop.com right now.
Yep.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Our old friend
probably won't need that though.
Yeah.
Because I think,
Well,
I think our spring weather
We're
is,
getting out of that weather. Yeah,
is coming,
opening
a little
days
bit
in the
early.
past.
Yeah. Right.
So, get it now. Get ready for next year. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's right.
You always need it. Our old friend is back. I don't know what Sutton Turner was doing, class of '93 from College Station during January, but he went on hiatus. The Christmas hangover, he couldn't join us in January. I don't know what was going on.
No, he was taking a hiatus. You're exactly right, because he's been with us. We started doing this in really the spring of 2020, right when COVID hit.
And
so
they can't
almost
have
3
missed
years
more
now.
than a couple of
Right,
episodes.
right.
I mean, this might be number 2.
If any, I don't know if he missed any.
He may not. It might be number 1.
Except the one in January. So Sutton, glad you're not mad at us. He says,
Look
sorry
how
I
he
missed you
starts,
guys.
yeah.
Love and respect you guys.
That's how
So
he
he's not mad
starts.
at us.
Yeah.
He just was busy.
And we're not mad at him. We're just
He's
welcoming
just busy.
him back.
Yes, that's right.
But I tell you what, you go to any event, and you'll see Sutton there.
He's there.
I see him at
He's-
Bluebell Park, anything, everywhere.
He's a great Aggie.
Yeah.
Very loyal.
So we'll break him into a couple here because his topic it's important because this was also recently announced since our last Yell and Review. It's official now that Texas and Oklahoma will join the SEC. I believe it's July 1 of 2024.
2024.
That's the date?
That's right.
Okay, so
Yep,
July
that's right.
1 of 2024,
That's right.
we know now that Texas and Oklahoma
Yep.
will come to the SEC. His question centered around that movement. So part 1 here. Ross, you haven't been a part of the Aggie, as he puts it, TU football game, which will happen in 2024. However, you've been a part of Egg Bowls, a great tradition in the SEC, and played on Thanksgiving quite a bit in recent years. What have you learned in your career about intense rivalries that will help prepare Aggieland for this upcoming rivalry and its return? We'll get to part 2 in just a minute.
Is that a loaded question? So what have you learned in your career about intense rivalries? So here's what I would say about being in the SEC now. It can't just be about one game, right? We play in the SEC. Every game is at a high level. Every game essentially is a rivalry in some way, shape, or form. You may have played them last year in a close game. They may have beat you the year before, and you're trying to get them back. I mean, the SEC is so competitive in all sports that if we just concern ourselves about one game, one series, one doubleheader, oh, yeah, by the way, we got to play 30 other games. Or, oh, yeah, by the way, we got to play 11 other football games. Like, we can't get consumed by it. Now, when we play them, absolutely, it's on, right? And we want to be super prepared, and we want to make sure that we capture that moment. And we'll do lots of things from a programming standpoint or the elements around playing Texas. Again, in all sports, we're working on a comprehensive sort of sponsorship and point system, and absolutely we're going to embrace it. But I think the thing that I've learned the most about being in the SEC is that every day you've got to prepare like it's a rival, not just a one-time moment throughout the year. And so I think it's going to be neat when it happens. I think my comments have been those standing room only tickets are going to be super valuable and in a premium because people are just going to want to be here in Kyle Field for that, especially that first game. And then from then on, in all of our, I think it's really exciting for all of our sports. I mean, think about a baseball series. We were just talking about baseball.
Yeah.
Think about a softball series, right? Think about a track sort of dual meet. Think about we just played them in men's tennis on Sunday. Those are going to be regular occurrences, and so all of those moments are going to be really neat. But then the next day we'll have to play somebody else in the SEC, and then the next weekend you'll have to play, another high-level matchup. So that's the thing I think we have to focus on. Embrace it when you play them, but then get ready for the rest of the SEC. It's not for the faint of heart, as they say.
And you were talking baseball, and it's not just one series. It's not just playing Texas. I keep going back to how baseball has to start the SEC schedule this year.
Oh, my gosh.
Preseason number 1, LSU. Right. Preseason number 2, Tennessee. By the way, after you're done with those, defending national champion.
Right.
So that's your first 3 series.
We talk about a lot in the diamond sports and even basketball and baseball. The 2 programs that we're at in the league, they're coming into an increasingly already tough league. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. All of the 14 members institutions are used to it. It's going to be a little bit on those 2 institutions they're going to have to get acclimated too. Yeah. And like what Ross said, I mean, you're right. It's going to count in the standings now too.
Yeah,
that's right.
No doubt. Sutton had a second part. He's coming back and he's making up for lost time.
Yeah, that's right.
This was the January question, right?
Yeah. So a lot of talk about scheduling models once Texas and Oklahoma join, particularly around football.
Yep.
There's also expansion of the college football playoff out there. And so
which kicks in the fall of 24 as well.
Right. So all of this is coming together really with one season.
Right.
So Sutton asks, if we go to the 9-game model, one of those that is being discussed, and with the expansion of the college football playoff, could you see us playing Texas on Saturday, November 23rd of 2024, which is 1 week before Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Do you see that as a new rivalry weekend, in quotations he puts it, with an SEC triple header of the Egg Bowl, Iron Bowl, and the Aggies and Longhorns? But on the back end of the SEC schedule, there's far more than just 3 rivalry games. There's non-conference rivalries with SEC, ACC, and a lot to, as we say, unpack on that final question from Sutton Turner.
No, Sutton, as we've seen in all his questions throughout the last couple of years, is that he is a student of college athletics, and so he follows all of this on a regular basis, and he's very knowledgeable about the nuances of what's happening. And so he actually – I feel like we need a whiteboard.
I know.
Here, almost like I grew up in the John Madden era, almost like a John Madden telestrator, where it's like this circle's over here, and then this circle moves over here, and this.
We should have given you. You'd have to draw backwards and face the camera here.
So we need like a whiteboard to map all this out. And so, yes, there is. So I'll go to the CFP first. We are going to a 12-team playoff in the fall of 24. There's 2 years left on that contract, where 24-25 season is under the existing contract. Starting in the fall of 26, there'll be a new contract, and that's mainly around TV and the media side of it. But that can dictate a lot of things, because you've got to make sure the calendar fits your television windows. It's got to fit the NFL, the end of the regular season NFL. Then it's got to fit into the NFL postseason from those TV windows. And so there is a discussion about moving the start of the college football season up 1 week. What we call week 0 now. Week 1 is when we normally start, and this year we're starting on Labor Day weekend.
Right. And week 0
is
never
a
full schedule. That right now it's scaled down.
I think last year there was 11 or 12 games on week 0. So do you start on week 0, and then the regular season could end the week before Thanksgiving, to his point. Your championship games would then be Thanksgiving weekend. Conference championship games, and then you have some time before you would then start. So that is not finalized. It's being modeled out. It's being looked at by the College Football Oversight Committee within the NCAA. It's being looked at by the CFP, by the commissioners as well. So that decision has not been made yet, but he lays out a good point that you could see that. And then as we get into the SEC model, he says if we go to a 9-game model, so he's right, that decision has not been made as well either. The only sport that we have not finalized SEC scheduling models is football. Volleyball, we have a little bit of work to do, but football is the main one. Are we going to stay at 8 games, and that'd be a 1-7 model, which we've talked about a lot on this show? Or do we go to 9 games, which would be a 3-6 model, 3 permanent opponents, 6 rotational opponents? If we go to a 3-6 model, we would play Texas every year, to his point. If we go to a 1-7 model, we would not play Texas every year. Our permanent opponent would be LSU. Texas would have Oklahoma as their permanent opponent. So we hope to make a decision by May of this year on whether we stay at 8 or do we go to 9 for the fall of 24. There's a lot of work that has to take place to get that done. And so the whiteboard exercise really comes down to, if we play Texas every year, what time of the year do we play them? Because you have a lot of rivalry games, non-conference games that are already set. You have 4 non-conference SEC rival, right? Kentucky, Louisville, South Carolina, Clemson, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech. Well, that leaves the other 12 teams to play each other the last weekend. You've already got some rivalry games. He mentions the Egg Bowl. He mentions the Iron Bowl. So then it comes down to, well, who's your permanent opponents? So if Texas is our permanent opponent, but also LSU, does it match up where we can play Texas Thanksgiving weekend? It may not match up. So to level set here, it may not match up where we can play Texas Thanksgiving weekend based on all the other moving parts. Because then who does Oklahoma play the last weekend? Who does Missouri play the last weekend? Who does LSU play? Who does Arkansas play? Those teams, those programs that don't already have sort of a natural end-of-the-year rivalry game. LSU, Arkansas used to be, right? They used to play on that Friday.
It's got replaced by Arkansas, Missouri.
Right,
lately,
and so those other programs don't have a natural – so then it kind of throws off the rotation. If you can kind of do the math on this, the exercise may not equate to we can play them on Thanksgiving weekend. So when do you play them? Is it early November? Is it late October? It's probably somewhere in that window. They're going to want to maintain their Texas-Oklahoma game, the second Saturday, I think, in October. There at the Cotton Bowl. So it's complicated. The first thing is, let's get to a 9-game decision. We support 9 games. We want that to happen. Hopefully we can get there. Let's sort out the college football playoff calendar, and do you go to week 0? And then we can start seeing models on when would we play, Texas. So a lot of moving parts. Hopefully that wasn't too long of an answer.
You unpacked it well.
But again, we need the whiteboard. We need the
we didn't even
the
talk
John
about
Madden
the
teleprompter.
Oversight Rule Committee that came out about a week ago. I mean, there's this next 2 years in college football is going to be a landscape change from what we've seen from a media standpoint, game standpoint, scheduling standpoint.
Scheduling, conference realignment, what happens, in the Pac-12, Big 12, those dynamics. I mean, we've seen ACC programs coming out the last couple weeks expressing some frustration about their setup. And so you talk about NIL, transfer, college football playoff, conference realignment, television, situations, NCAA transition. We have a new president in the NCAA, Charlie Baker. We're talking to Congress about how to maybe fix things in college athletics. We may adapt a state law here in Texas about NIL. Those conversations are happening. I mean, there's so many things that are on the deck right now that are on our plate that we have to make sure that we're at the forefront. So, like we talked about at the beginning,
all ready for March and the Yellen
Review. By the way, we still play games. And we still support
our
athletes.
There's this thing called the NCAA tournament coming up.
Right. And we have a big home game, and we have big baseball series, and softball gets back here in the state of Texas. They play at Waco.
Even before SEC tournaments are cranking up. Women's basketball this week, men's basketball.
I mean, all these things that sometimes we get lost in. We support athletes.
We're still
they're going to class.
Still trying to go out there and win games and graduate student athletes.
Right. So it's a fascinating time, but again, that's where A&M is in a great position because of the size and scale of our university, the vision of our university leadership, being in the SEC when that decision was made. I mean, who could have predicted all of these things? But we're in the best position possible, and so we got to make sure we continue to thrive.
All right. We got it in just before the calendar flipped.
Absolutely.
And good to have you back, Sutton Turner.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
All righty. Ross Bjork, Tyler Pigg, good job filling in,
Thanks.
my man. Well done. And I'm Will Johnson. That's all on this Yellen Review with our Director of Athletics, Ross Bjork. If you have a question for Ross on a future Yellen Review, submit it at 12thman.com/askross. We will see you in March from the south end zone of Kyle Field.